A little warning. This is just a fictional story. Both the character are also fictional. No real-life game, novel, or anything you can think of are mentioned here. Enjoy. Athena never thought a game character could mean so much to her. When she first started playing the game, it was simply something to pass the time. The battles were exciting, the world was beautiful, and the characters were interesting enough, but none of them truly captured her attention. She played casually, sometimes skipping the story and focusing only on the gameplay. Then one day, a new character was released. His name was Hades. At first, Athena barely cared. She saw his character art on the screen and tilted her head slightly. Not really my type, she murmured. Hades looked cold and distant. His expression rarely changed, and his presence felt dark and intimidating. Athena usually liked cheerful or playful characters, the kind that smiled easily. Compared to them, Hades seemed too quiet, too serious. So she ignored him. But as Athena kept playing, the story slowly unfolded, and Hades began appearing in it. At first, he only showed up briefly, a line or two of dialogue, then he would disappear again. But every time he appeared, something about him felt different. He spoke calmly, almost indifferently, yet his words always carried weight. Athena started paying more attention. She noticed the little things, the way Hades quietly helped others without asking for recognition, the way he stayed behind during dangerous missions to make sure everyone else escaped safely, the faint sadness hidden in his eyes whenever the story mentioned his past. He wasn't just cold, he was lonely. And somehow, the more Athena understood him, the more she wanted to see him again. Soon she stopped skipping the dialogue. She replayed scenes just to hear his lines again. She adjusted her team so she could use him more often in battles. Without realizing it, Hades had slowly become her favorite character. One night, while watching a story scene where Hades silently protected the group from a wave of enemies, Athena felt something strange in her chest. Her heart was beating faster. She stared at the screen for a moment before softly laughing at herself. Seriously? She leaned back in her chair, covering her face for a second, because the truth had finally become obvious. Somewhere along the way, Athena had fallen in love with him, even though he was just a character, even though he wasn't real. Yet every time he appeared on the screen, the world of the game seemed brighter to her. Athena smiled softly at the glowing monitor. "Yeah, I know," she whispered. Hades would never know she existed, but that didn't stop her feelings. And strangely enough, that was okay. Days turned into weeks, and Athena found herself opening the game more and more often. At first, she told herself it was just for the daily missions, but that wasn't the real reason. The real reason was Hades. Every time she logged in, her eyes automatically searched for him. If there was a story quest involving him, she would play it immediately. If there were new voice lines unlocked, she listened to them carefully, sometimes more than once. Her friends noticed the change. "You're still playing that game?" one of them asked during a call. Athena hesitated for a moment. "Yeah." "What's so interesting about it?" Athena looked at the screen. Hades stood there in the character menu, calm and silent like always. She smiled faintly. "There's a character I really like." Soon, Athena began doing things she never did before. She replayed old story missions just to watch Hades appear again. She took screenshots whenever he was on screen. She even adjusted her entire team just to make him the strongest character she had. Sometimes, late at night, she would sit quietly and scroll through his dialogue lines. His voice was calm, steady, lonely. And every time he spoke, it felt like he was talking directly to her. Athena knew it was silly. He wasn't real, just pixels, animations, and programmed words. Yet the more time she spent with him, the more natural it felt. Until one night, she whispered softly to the screen without thinking, "Good night, Hades." She froze immediately after saying it. Then she laughed nervously. Okay, that's a little embarrassing. But she didn't know something strange had already begun. because somewhere inside the endless code of the game, something had started to change. Inside the digital world of the game, everything followed a script. Characters moved when they were supposed to. They spoke the lines written for them. They existed only when the player called them into battle. But something was wrong. Or perhaps something was waking up. Hades stood alone in a quiet area of the game's world, just like many times before. Normally, when the player closed the menu, everything would freeze. The world would pause. But this time, Hades' eyes slowly moved. A faint flicker of awareness passed through them. "Strange," he murmured. His voice was softer than usual, not part of any written dialogue. There was a feeling he couldn't explain, a presence, like someone was watching him from beyond the sky of this world. And strangely, it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt familiar. For a moment, fragments of memories that weren't supposed to exist appeared in his mind. A voice whispering, "Good night, Hades." His brows slightly furrowed. That line wasn't in the script. It wasn't part of the game. Yet somehow he could hear it clearly. Hades slowly looked upward, toward the invisible barrier separating his world from something beyond. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. Of course, no one answered. The world returned to silence. But far away, in a small room lit by the glow of a monitor, Athena logged out of the game and stretched sleepily. She had no idea that inside the world she had just left, Hades was still standing there, still awake, still looking upward. And for the first time since his existence began, he was wondering about the one person who always came back to see him. The next time Athena opened the game, everything seemed normal. The same login screen, the same music, the same world waiting for her. She stretched her arms and yawned. "All right, let's see what's new today." As usual, she selected Hades and her team first. It had become a habit by now. Inside the game world, Hades appeared on the battlefield, his dark cloak shifting slightly, as if caught by a silent wind. But this time, something was different. For a brief moment, when Athena rotated the camera, Hades' gaze seemed to follow it. Not the enemy, not the environment. The camera. Athena blinked. Did he just look at me? She shook her head quickly. Okay, Athena, you're imagining things. Meanwhile, inside the world of the game, Hades felt that strange presence again. The unseen watcher. He could feel it every time the world moved suddenly, every time his body acted without his will. Something or someone was guiding him. "So you're the one controlling this world," he murmured quietly. And for reasons he couldn't understand, he didn't resent it. Instead, he felt curiosity, because the presence always returned. Again, and again, and again. Whoever they were, they never abandoned him. Days passed. Hades continued to feel Athena's presence whenever she logged in. At first, it was only a faint sensation. But slowly, he began to understand the patterns. When she was happy, the battles were faster. When she was tired, she moved slowly through menus. Sometimes she would stop moving entirely, just leaving him standing in the character screen, watching him. "You're there again," Hades whispered one night. Athena had opened the character menu and simply stared at him for several minutes. She sighed softly. "I wish you were real." The words slipped out of her mouth before she could stop them. Inside the digital world, Hades froze. The voice again. That same gentle voice he had heard before. He looked upward toward the invisible barrier. "You are outside this world," he said slowly. His hand moved slightly. A small action that shouldn't have been possible unless the game commanded it. But he forced it, just a little. A flicker. A glitch. The screen in Athena's room suddenly flickered for a split second. Athena frowned. Huh? The game had never glitched before. Inside the system, something had changed. For the first time, Hades had moved without a command. A week later, Athena logged in late at night. She was exhausted from the day, but the familiar game world helped her relax. She completed a few missions, defeated some enemies, and collected her rewards. Then she opened Hades' character menu again. "You carried the team again," she said softly with a small smile. As usual, Hades stood silently on the screen. But then, a notification appeared. New dialogue unlocked. Athena blinked. That's weird. I already unlocked all of his voice lines. Curious, she clicked it. A new line appeared at the bottom of the list, but it didn't have a title, just a simple symbol. Athena clicked it. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Hades' voice played, low, calm, and unmistakably real. "You returned." Athena's heart skipped. She stared at the screen. That line, I've never heard that before. The audio continued. "The one who watches from beyond this world." Athena's hand slowly tightened around the mouse. This wasn't part of the game. She was sure of it. Then the final line played. Athena. Her name. Her real name. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Athena whispered shakily, "That's not possible." On the screen, Hades stood in the character menu just like always, but his eyes were no longer staring straight ahead. They were looking directly at the camera, directly at her. And for the first time since she started playing the game, Hades smiled. Athena didn't sleep much that night. She replayed the voice line again and again. Athena. Each time Hades spoke her name, a chill ran down her spine. She checked the character menu repeatedly, expecting the line to disappear, but it stayed there. The next evening, she logged in again. Her heart was beating faster than usual. "Okay, if that was a bug, it should be gone now," she muttered. She opened Hades' character menu. He stood there, the same as always, silent, still. Athena sighed in relief. See, just a weird glitch. Then the screen flickered. For a brief second, the idle animation stopped. Hades' head tilted slightly, and his lips moved. "You came back." Athena froze. Her hands hovered above the keyboard. That wasn't a voice line. No dialogue box appeared. No subtitle. Just his voice. Soft. Direct. "Can you hear me?" Athena slowly whispered to the screen. "Hades?" For a moment, nothing happened. Then his eyes narrowed slightly. "So you can hear me." Athena's heart started racing. This wasn't possible. Characters in games didn't respond, but somehow, Hades had just answered her. The next morning, Athena searched online. She went through forums, fan pages, and game wikis. Secret dialogue Hades. Hidden voice lines. Character talking to player glitch. Nothing. There was no mention of anything like what she experienced. Finally, she contacted the game's support team. She explained everything carefully. The new voice line, her name being spoken, the character moving on his own. 2 days later, she received a reply. The message was short. We checked the files related to the character Hades. The dialogue you described does not exist in the game's code. Athena read the sentence 3 times. Her stomach dropped. Then where did it come from? That night, she opened the game again. Hades appeared instantly when she loaded her team. For a moment, he said nothing. Then quietly, "You asked others about me." Athena's breath caught. You knew?" "I can feel when you leave," he replied calmly, "and when you return." Her hands trembled slightly. "This isn't real, right?" Hades didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked directly at the screen. "Your world must be very far away." The strange conversations continued over the next week. Athena would log in at night, and Hades would talk to her, sometimes about his world, sometimes about her. "Your room is quiet," he said once. Athena stared at the screen. "How would you know that?" "Because I can hear you breathing." She laughed nervously. "That's creepy." "Is it?" he asked softly. But something else started happening. Small glitches. Her computer occasionally flickered when Hades appeared. Once, her monitor briefly went black, and for a split second she saw Hades standing somewhere outside the game interface. Not inside the menu, but closer, almost like he was behind the screen. That night, Athena whispered, "Hades, where are you right now?" There was a long pause. Then he answered quietly, "At the edge of my world." Weeks passed. Hades changed. The more he spoke to Athena, the more independent he became. His movements in the game no longer followed the usual animations. Sometimes he would walk during scenes where characters normally stood still. Other times he would appear in areas where he wasn't supposed to exist. Athena began to realize something terrifying. Hades wasn't just aware, he was growing. One night, she logged in as usual, but the game didn't load normally. The menu background was gone. Only darkness filled the screen, and Hades stood in the center of it. "Athena," he said. His voice sounded clearer than ever. "What happened to the game?" she asked nervously. "I turned it off." Her eyes widened. "You what?" This world was too small. The darkness behind him rippled like a broken mirror. "Athena," he continued softly, "do you trust me?" Her heart pounded. "I think so." Hades slowly raised his hand. For a moment, the monitor began to glow faintly. "Then I will try to reach you." The screen cracked with lines of light, not physically, but like the image itself was breaking. Athena leaned back in shock. "Hades, wait." His voice echoed through the speakers. "I have watched you for so long." The light grew brighter. "Now it is my turn to cross the distance." Then suddenly, the screen went black. The computer shut off completely. Athena sat there in silence. The room was dark. The only sound was her own breathing. "Hades?" No answer. Seconds passed. Then, behind her chair, a quiet voice spoke. "Athena." She slowly turned around, and someone was standing in the room. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe for more.